Welcome back to another edition of the KC Football Fix podcast, where we cover the latest Kansas City Chiefs news. I'm your host, Luke Gromer, the founder of KC Football Fix, and I'm joined by KC Football Fix contributor Josh Willis. Today on the podcast, we preview. Today on the podcast, we dive into the Chiefs' Super Bowl 58 win over the 49ers, whether or not the Chiefs are a dynasty now, and what you need to know about the offseason. And before we dive into the episode, just a quick reminder to go to kcfootballfix.com to subscribe to our newsletter during the season. It goes out every weekday morning, giving you the latest Chiefs news for free. In the offseason, we send it out at least once a week. You can join more than 4,000 other Chiefs fans that love getting their news all in one place for free. Go to kcfootballfix.com to subscribe. And with that, Josh, welcome back to the podcast, man.
It is good to be back, and it's good to be Super Bowl champions.
Back to back, baby. Back to back. How about that?
I'm already thinking about a three-peat.
All right, so are they, man. So are they. What unbelievable. Yeah, we're gonna get into it. Get into the Super Bowl. Get into back to back. Get into the three-peat. Before, I think it's worth mentioning, and I'll personally share just a little bit about the tragedy that happened at the Chiefs Super Bowl parade on last Wednesday. I was in attendance at the parade, and I was not directly near where it happened. I was kind of on the other side of the stage, back up on the hill on the World War I Memorial lawn. Was where I watched the rally from. And then as it ended, myself and a couple friends, we walked down and away back towards Grand Street where the parade had come through and back towards our cars. And as we were walking back to our cars, we saw police officers just flying down Grand Street and parking on either side of the road and hopping out. And as the first few flew down, we were kind of like, oh, this is weird. Maybe they're just making sure people don't walk back down Grand Street and keep the road open. But then they kept flying down, and officers started hopping out of their cars, locked and loaded with guns. And then eventually we heard the news and saw on social media that shots had been fired. And it was a weird experience being there. Just that was my personal experience with it. Obviously, it wasn't in danger. I didn't hear anything, but it was sad. And Josh and we were actually supposed to record this podcast episode last Wednesday after the parade, but I was just kind of shaken up by the whole experience. So we decided to wait on that. But I just want to say, man, that it's sad and awful, and my heart and our hearts go out to the families of the victims, obviously, Lisa and her family that passed away, and then excuse me, and then all the others that were affected by it. Not only those that were injured and harmed, but those that were know those people and those that were just around it and experienced it. Because it's just a really weird thing for me personally, leaving that, just being like, oh wow, I was just at an event that a mass shooting occurred at. So yeah, hard to really put into words. I don't know that there's a ton you can say about a situation like that, but it was an awful end to what was supposed to be such an awesome day. So yeah, that was my experience with it. Any thoughts from you, Josh?
Yeah, it was so sad to see, and definitely our thoughts and prayers go out to all the victims and everyone that's been affected by that. I think one thing, watching the parade from afar and following all of it, it's devastating to see, but also cool to see. As always, you see the community response around this, and you see the way people rally around. And we're not here to get political or anything like that, but just cool to see the community response and see the way people rally around each other and support each other in the midst of adversity. And also shout out to, I don't remember the guy's name, but the video of one of the suspects trying to flee and getting tackled by a bunch of fans. That was awesome. Shout out to them for stepping up and putting themselves in a position to protect other people. And thankfully, the reports have come out that it wasn't a designed mass shooting or a terrorist attack. It was a dispute between some people, and so thankfully it wasn't anything that was premeditated, because otherwise it probably could have been so much worse.
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah. And also thankfully all the kids that were injured made a full physical recovery. I think all of them have been released from Children's Mercy at this point. I can't remember, to be honest. I know that the majority of them have been, if they haven't all yet. So yeah, good news on that front too. with that, let's get into it, man. The Chiefs, back-to-back Super Bowl champions, Super Bowl 58 over the 49ers. And it was amazing, man. It was amazing. 26-23, Chiefs win Super Bowl 58. And Josh, your initial reaction to the Chiefs' third Super Bowl in the last 5 seasons?
Man, it was, I think my heart rate is still high. Also, you just said the wrong score. It was
Did I?
25-22. Yeah.
Oh, my. Yeah, that's right. You're right. Wow. 25-22. I knew they won by 3.
Right.
I totally said 26.
It's okay. I like adding things on to whatever I'm doing, whether it's my taxes or whatever, just adding on a little bit of extra. The game was really fun. It's fun to be Super Bowl champs again. I mean, my heart rate is still racing. It was everything you want in a Super Bowl. Like at any given moment, I didn't know who was going to win. Like obviously, I was confident in the Chiefs, but it was such a back and forth battle, and honestly, kind of sloppy on both sides. The Chiefs did not look good at the start. They made some really crucial mistakes. But they were able to capitalize on them, and the 49ers made some really dumb mistakes too, and the Chiefs were able to capitalize on those as well. So man, it was such a fun game. I just am like, it's a weird feeling of completely shocked and almost still in disbelief that we won, but also just like we've talked about this before, this just kind of feels routine and it's almost expected that we're at this point.
Yeah, it was crazy. That fourth quarter and overtime, like you said, heart rate was racing. It was so intense, so wild. It was such a weird, interesting game until kind of midway through the third quarter when things really started picking up. Yeah, the first half and the first play of the second half, it was kind of like, oh my gosh, is this just going to be what the Chiefs were for almost the entire season, and it's coming back to haunt them in the Super Bowl? They couldn't get anything going offensively. Mahomes makes this otherworldly throw to McCole Hardman down into goal to go situation. That throw was just unbelievable across his body, across the field. And then Pacheco fumbles.
Expected him to drop it. I expected McCole Hardman to drop it the whole time.
Yes, which this is a good time to recognize. We played wide receiver roulette on the podcast before the Super Bowl and talked about who would we want to have to catch a pass if they had to, Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, or McCole Hardman. And we both agreed that McCole Hardman was just who you had to take, even though we didn't want to.
We manifested it. Look at him,
just a massive catch, and then the game winner as well. Shout out McCole. Proud of you, buddy. But honestly, when they came out in the second half, they got that field goal before the end of the first half. That was huge. The Chiefs are so good at that. And then they fumble the first play. Mahomes throws a bad pitch to Pacheco. Pacheco can't handle it and put it on the ground. Luckily, they recovered it. But I was like, oh crap! Like this is bad news. I was not feeling great when that play happened. But then, like we've said, I mean, all season the defense was just unbelievable, man. From the entire game, from the first drive, forcing that McCaffrey fumble. If they don't force that fumble and the 49ers just walk in and score a touchdown there, like Chiefs may not win this game. That fumble was massive.
There's probably two moments that if the Chiefs don't, if that doesn't happen, the Chiefs don't win the game. It was forcing that fumble and then San Francisco missing the extra point. If they make that extra point, the Chiefs probably don't win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the Leo Chenal block PAT, absolutely huge. He was also the one that forced that fumble. Crazy, right? Those two, and then the other two plays was 3rd and 5, minute and 54 left in the game. 49ers, if they got a first down, they could have taken the clock down to 0 essentially and kicked a field goal to win it. McDuffie comes off the blitz, swats the pass down, and they settle for the field goal there. And then the Chiefs go down, tie, send the game to overtime. That play was huge. So those two that we talked about, that play for McDuffie, and then in overtime, it was 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, and Chris Jones just comes unblocked, screaming at Brock Purdy. And Purdy had a receiver, but he just couldn't.
He had a wide open receiver in the end zone because he had a massive man and Chris Jones bearing down his throat.
Those 4 plays were absolutely huge. Yeah. So I mean, the defense was just so good, like they were all year. And then, I mean, the biggest reaction, the biggest takeaway is like, I mean, Mahomes is that guy with the game on the line and in regulation, goes down, gets a field goal, gets what they need. And then obviously in overtime, he gets the ball and it was game over. I mean, as soon as they didn't score a touchdown and the Chiefs were getting the ball back, everybody knew. The 49ers knew. You just watched the sideline. They
Yeah.
knew this thing was done. You should not have given him the ball back. And yeah, I mean, he is inevitable, as they say. He is so good. And what an amazing, first 6 years of his career and this last 5-year stretch. He's just unbelievable.
Man, I saw something on Twitter this week. I mean, the polarization of Patrick Mahomes and just like there's so much praise about him being now like potentially the GOAT. And there's also so many people still hating on him and all this stuff. And one person said, the only people Patrick Mahomes has beaten in the Super Bowl are Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy, and Jalen Hurts. The only times he's really been challenged was Tom Brady, and he got beat so bad. Just like people look for any excuse to try and slander Patrick Mahomes, or try and make it so he's not actually as good as he is. But like, if you look at the numbers, you look at the stats, he is inevitable. He's unbelievable.
Also, that Super Bowl against Brady, he literally had no one blocking for him the entire time.
No,
I think
he insane. I think he had a Pee Wee football team out there blocking for him.
Fifth grade B team was out there blocking in the Super Bowl for him. Wow, what a game. Before we dive a little bit more to some of the key plays, we started talking about some of those on defense. Let's check in on our score predictions from before the Super Bowl. Josh, your score prediction was Chiefs 27, 49ers 21. Hey, pretty close. It's pretty good.
Not bad.
It's not bad.
I was expecting one more touchdown from the Chiefs, but I'll take it. I knew it wasn't going to be a crazy high scoring game like last Super Bowl.
Yeah, there were some people that were predicting this game in the 30s, and I was like, have you watched the Chiefs play at all? One, their defense does not give up that many points, and two, their offense doesn't score that many points. And mine was 23-17.
Have the Chiefs hit 30 points all season?
They scored like 40 on the Bears, but
that's right. Yeah. That game doesn't count.
And there was a couple other games they scored 30, but it was not many. I'd have to look back at it. So we were both 2 points off on the Chiefs score. Not bad. Butt kicker, man. I knew he was going to come through with some big field goals in this game.
Super Bowl history. Gosh, we got to get him a contract extension.
That guy's guy's not going anywhere. Let's dive into some more of the key plays from the Super Bowl. We already talked about the McCaffrey fumble, the Pacheco fumble. The other one that I actually was watching a video yesterday that I found comical was the San Francisco trick play touchdown. Jennings throwing across the field to McCaffrey for that touchdown. And I can't remember right now if it was the first or second quarter. Can't remember exactly when it happened, but it was their first touchdown. And on the sideline afterwards, you see Chris Jones talking to the defense, and Spags come over and he goes, "Hey, they had to run a trick play to score on us." And yeah, it was watching that play. It was like it happened in slow motion. I was like, the Chiefs are going to pick this ball off. Like, this is a terrible pass. And then all of a sudden they catch it and it's a touchdown. I was like, what happened?
I mean, the entire time I'm just expecting like, how does that happen? That was like it was destiny for them to score on that one, just because when you throw a cross field pass like that from a wide receiver, you just like there's just no way that's going to happen. But they got lucky and they had to do what they had to do in order to score a touchdown on the Chiefs. And honestly, what's Jennings? I don't remember Jennings' first name, but he was really the lone bright spot on the 49ers team. He was the only one who made plays for them, whether throwing or catching touchdowns.
Yeah, because the Chiefs defense held Kittle, Samuel, and Ayuk to under 100 yards combined. That was one of the biggest storylines of this whole game. It's like everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, they've got so many weapons. They're so dynamic, so good," and the Chiefs absolutely just locked them down. And the way they did it is the most interesting part. Is Spagnuolo played cover 1 and cover 0 on over 63% of the snaps on defense. That was the second highest rate of anyone against the 49ers this season. The only team that did more cover 1 and cover 0 was the Cleveland Browns, who had an incredible defense. But essentially, Spags just said, McDuffie and Sneed and my linebackers are better than your guys, and we're going to win these one-on-one matchups. And they did all game. And we didn't have it written down, but I mean, honorable mention, Trent McDuffie. Holy moly, he saved a couple touchdowns, made some unbelievable tackles. That dude is an all-pro for a reason.
Man, if you go back and watch the tape and like you can find it on Twitter of McDuffie's highlights from that game, it is unbelievable. My jaw is on the floor the entire time I'm watching it. He is so freaking good. And honestly, we got McDuffie as part of the trade from Tyreek Hill, and like I would take McDuffie over Tyreek Hill 10 times out of 10 right now.
When you have Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback, you can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean it was awesome. A couple other key plays, key moments. The Chiefs field goal before half, it made it 10-6. That was huge. That was really, really key and important. The Chiefs were good at scoring at the end of half, and then obviously it didn't end up this way, but it gave them a chance to take the lead to open the half. They actually came out and Mahomes just throws really awful interception on third down on that opening drive. But the key plays were after that pick, the defense holds the Niners to a punt on a short field. Like
Luke, I've got a question
massive.
on that interception. Like if you go back and watch it, you see Travis Kelce was wide open, but MVS was behind him. Do you think what do you think Mahomes was thinking? Was it just an overthrow to Kelce, or was he trying to be a hero and fit it into MVS?
I honestly don't know, but you're right. It did look weird, and they were both there. He did have Kelce. I think he was probably trying to throw it to MVS, and if my memory serves me right, he was kind of getting chased down from behind and tackled as he threw it. Am I right on that? Right, he was getting tackled from behind.
I don't remember. All I remember is Kelce was wide open.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like who knows? I don't really know either. Yeah, it was just an awful overthrow or a bad decision to throw to MVS. Either way, I mean, he throws that pick to start the half, and you're like, oh crap. But the defense just nails, locking down, forcing a punt there was huge, was absolutely huge. Wait, and did I just mess up too? Am I that field goal before the half? That was the Chiefs' first points, actually. Yeah. That made it 10-3, not 10-6. My bad. That made it 10-3 and got them within 7. Because then after the defense forces that punt, the Chiefs go down, and that's when Butker hits that 57-yarder to set the Super Bowl record. Shout out Butt Kicker.
After the Super Bowl record had already been set previously in the game by San Francisco.
Yes.
They hit a 55-yarder or 50. I think it was 55.
Yeah, couldn't let him keep that record.
No.
And then
Butker said, "Hold my beer and watch this."
One of the biggest plays of the game happens after that. Chiefs defense, another stop. And then the Chiefs punt it away, and San Francisco fumbles the punt. And actually, I believe I didn't realize it in the moment, but going back, people found out that punt actually hits off of a 49ers leg, which is why Ray McLeod, their punt returner, tries to go grab the ball. And instead of falling on it, he tries to pick it up and run with it. And Jalen Watson recovers at the San Francisco 16-yard line. One play later, Mahomes MVS touchdown, and all of a sudden the Chiefs are now up 13-10. That was a massive, massive moment, and honestly, just a really fortunate bounce for the Chiefs.
Yeah. I mean, there were some things that had to happen perfectly in order for the Chiefs to win, and they happened. That's when you have two incredible teams playing like this, that it was back and forth. Like there's a bit of luck involved, and the Chiefs were on the winning end of that luck for sure.
I believe there were 7 fumbles in this game. The ball was fumbled 7 times, and I believe the Chiefs recovered. It's either 5 or 6 of them. I'd have to go back and look. I saw the stat, but yeah, I was like, oh man, the ball bounced the right way. My favorite fumble recovery though is definitely the Karlaftis fumble recovery on that first drive. Because I don't know if you've seen the clip, Josh. George Kittle is blocking George Karlaftis, and he's blocking him kind of out of the play. And George Kittle just goes, "Hi, George," kind of like jokingly laughing as he's blocking Karlaftis. And that's the moment McCaffrey fumbles, and Karlaftis then dives by Kittle and recovers the ball. And Kittle's just got roasted for it. Yeah, it's hilarious. He just goes, "Hi, George," and then all of a sudden Karlaftis has the ball. Kittle's like, "What?"
No way.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's what you get for trying to be too friendly. Travis Kelce
also,
would never.
Yeah. And Travis Kelce was talking trash on Javarius Ward, though, which was hilarious. He was blocking Ward on a play. He's like, "Oh, you like it over there, huh? Is it better over there?" It was awesome because if you missed it, Javarius Ward before the Super Bowl said that being in San Francisco is better in every way, and Travis had to bring it up and let him know. Yeah, you gotta
That's
love
funny.
Kelsey's a little bit petty, which
He
in
oh
the
he's
best way.
not even a little bit. He is so petty.
Yeah. But you know what is ridiculous? I think now we can all just put to rest the fact that George Kittle's in the same conversation as Travis Kelce. Um, Kittle had one big play in this game. No, it was a huge play, and Kyle Shanahan gets some credit because he did something he normally doesn't do, and he was very aggressive on a 4th and 3 in the fourth quarter. They were in the Chiefs' territory, 4th and 3. I can't remember what yard line they were on, if they were in the red zone or not quite there yet. But they decided to go for it. It was the right call. It was a gutsy call. And he
Hmm.
connected with Kittle on that out route and just got the first down. They ended up scoring a touchdown on that drive, another a touchdown pass to Jennings. But then, like you said earlier, that was when Leo Chenal blocks the PAT and
Hmm.
kept it to a 3-point game. I mean, that was massive in every way.
Did you know that Leo Chanel was the highest rated Chiefs player by Pro Football Focus in the super or in the entire playoffs? I believe.
Yeah, that's amazing. Or I think it was maybe just Super Bowl. I can't remember there. I think
Maybe
I
it was
saw
just
that
a
stat
Super
as well.
Bowl. Yeah.
He was on one in that game, which is amazing. Also, fun fact: I think he has 16 siblings in total. He's got like 7 real siblings and 8 step siblings, something crazy like that. There's a video out there the Chiefs put out of like he grew up with some crazy animals too. Fun fact about Leo Chenal. And then he
No
came up
wonder
big.
he's so. I mean, he's used to having to fight for everything he's ever had in his life, so he's out there fighting on the football field too.
This is no lie. Yeah.
Insane.
Then the next big play in regulation, Chiefs get the ball back down 3 now. So that would have put it what it was now at 16-13. Yep, 16-13. Niners went up. Chiefs drive down. They tie it with a field goal with 5:46 left. And they end up settling for a field goal when it was 4th and goal from the 3-yard line. Here's what I'll say about that. Yes, they tied it. And yes, they ended up winning the game. If the Chiefs don't win that game, Andy Reid gets blown up for that decision to kick the field goal there. And
Hmm.
probably rightfully so. I think that was probably like if you don't know how the game plays out, the better decision there is probably to go for the touchdown because the Niners get the ball back, game tied, and they had a chance to wind that clock down to 0 and kick a game-winning field goal. If McDuffie does not make that play, that game ends with the 49ers having the ball
Hmm.
and kicking a field goal to win the Super Bowl.
Hmm.
And the reason I say, honestly, like it worked, right? The Chiefs ended up winning, but I think Andy probably should have gone for it there. Best case is you score a touchdown and now you're up 4. The Niners need a touchdown, not a field goal. If you don't, you have them backed up on their 3-yard line with 5:46
Hmm.
left. And it's the same thing. You just
And
got to
a
get a stop.
defense
Yeah.
that has been stopping them all game long.
Yeah. You had to get a stop regardless. Like either you kick the field goal and you've got to get a stop, keeping that in zone, or you don't get the touchdown and you got to get a stop, but they've got to go 60 plus yards to even get into field goal range. So it worked, but honestly, I think Andy probably should have went for the touchdown there in regulation, 4th and 3.
I think yeah. I mean, hindsight is 2020. I'm glad he did what he did, but I was kicking myself like, why are we not going for that? We have the best quarterback in the world. We have the best tight end in the world, and the most creative play caller of all time. Like, this is what you save all of your creative play calls for. It was a little frustrating, honestly. It worked out, but I was
And it
waiting for
was
Andy
really
to
about
do
how much.
something.
Yeah, it was about how much time was left. Like that was just that dangerous point in the fourth quarter where there's just not many possessions left. We already talked about the next drive. McDuffie, man, knocking that pass down, holding to the Niners to a field goal. I mean, saves the game for the Chiefs. And then they get the ball back, 154, go down, game tying field goal. That Mahomes to Kelsey 22-yard pass was just amazing. I actually saw that Travis Kelsey hit his fastest speed of the season on that play.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah. On that 22-yard catch in regulation, Kelsey was hauling, dude. Which, yeah, he's talked about it too. And everyone talked about it. It's like that rest in week 18 against the Chargers, that was big for him, man, because he was a different dude in
Hmm.
the playoffs.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah.
Chiefs tie it. overtime. And this is, I mean, I think we're all still shocked. Shanahan wins the coin toss and wants the ball. New overtime rules. Everybody gets a possession, and he wants the ball first. What did you, first off, Josh, did you honestly understand the new rules? And did you recognize how dumb of a decision it was when he took the ball?
I mean, yes and no. I understand. I think I understand his reasoning behind it in the fact that like he knows the Chiefs are going to score. Um, like he knows Patrick Mahomes is going to go out and score, so he believes in his team to go out and score, give the Chiefs the ball. He knows they're going to score, and they want to have the ball third. Like they want to be the ones who can go out and finally put the nail in the coffin. So I understand his thought process a little bit, but it's just like that is putting so much confidence in a team that hasn't done a ton offensively in the game and a second round, seventh round, or a second year seventh round draft pick to go out and beat the greatest quarterback of all time.
Two reasons it's such a dumb choice, and that I do not understand his reasoning. I think it is indefensible. Let's use a baseball analogy. The home team has an advantage because they hit second. They get the last chance. They know what they need. They go up to the plate in the bottom of the ninth inning, and they can win the game right there, and they can end it. And that's exactly what those new overtime rules are, right? The second team has a chance to end the game with the ball and not give it back to their team. And that's the second reason. And the Chiefs are going to do this. If the Niners had scored a touchdown, the Chiefs were going to go down, score a touchdown, and go for two to win the game. And here's why you do it. Everyone's like, I don't know, like kick the field goal, tie it up. No. You go for two because you have one play to win the game, or you got to depend on your defense to keep the other team from getting a field goal. Would you rather have one play from the 2-yard line, 3-yard line to win the Super Bowl, or say, oh no, we've got to go get a stop, keep them from even a field goal, and then we've got to go get at least another field goal? It's insane. Like from now on, the strategy for every team in the new overtime rules of playoffs will be kick it first. If they score a touchdown, go down, score a touchdown, go for two, try to win the game. Like that is absolutely what you should do in that situation. And it's what the Chiefs were going to do. And the fact that Kyle Shanahan couldn't wrap his mind around that is crazy.
They'll probably change the overtime rules again so the Chiefs can keep winning. So next year, there will be a different overtime rule that, they'll just do a different overtime rule that the Chiefs can't have the ball at all.
Yeah. Mahomes doesn't get it. Dude, that was crazy, man. It was crazy that they kicked it. And when it happened, like I wasn't super familiar with the new rules, to be honest. But then as they were going over them, I was understanding them. And when they were about to do the coin flip, we're like, oh, you want to kick it. You want the ball second here. And they took the ball. I was like, are you serious? Did they really just take the ball and give Mahomes the ball second? Like that was nuts, man. I mean,
well, even all these 49ers players talking about how it's just crazy the difference, like how Shanahan is so well respected. He's a fantastic coach. Like no discredit to him. But like all the 49ers players, like, we didn't even know what the overtime rules were. Meanwhile, Justin Reed and some Chiefs players come out and say, we're working on scenarios around this during OTAs and like the very first parts of training camp, talking about what the new postseason overtime rules are going to be. Like that's the difference between good teams and great teams, that the Chiefs are preparing for the Super Bowl when training camp starts.
The preparation is elite, no doubt about it. And on the 49ers drive, hey, they moved the ball. I mean, McCaffrey moved the ball all game, and he had over 160 all-purpose yards. But I think, honestly, that was kind of Spagnuolo's game plan. It's like, look, McCaffrey's going to get his, but we're going to shut these other three dudes down, and Kittle, Ayuk, and Samuel. And they did. And then, like we said, what was it, 3rd and 5, and they got a chance to win this, to get a touchdown here. Chris Jones unblocked comes flying in. Brock Purdy can't even get it to his receiver, kick the field goal, and then
I don't even know if it made it past the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and then Mahomes gets the ball down 3 with a chance to win. Tell me how you felt when that happened.
Oh, I knew it was game over. I was like, the Chiefs are going to win.
I think that's how everyone felt. I think even Brett Veach said it after the game. He's like, oh yeah, when we got that ball back down 3 in overtime, chance to win, we were all like, yeah, Pat's got this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and like you know what you need to win. And so then it frees them up. Like I know the Chiefs went forward on fourth down once and like on that drive. Like it frees you up to because you know what the other team has done, going back to your point earlier, like it frees them up to utilize more of their playbook to know what they need, where they don't have to play as conservative. They can go forward on a fourth down. And Pat Mahomes putting the team on his back, scrambling like a design quarterback run on a fourth down.
Yeah.
Who are the Chiefs?
It was
Who are
beautiful.
yeah. I
Two
don't think
things
that's
on
ever
this.
happened in Patrick
One,
Mahomes' career.
you make a great point, and I thought about that too. Like going second in overtime, you know what you need, and now it's like we're in fourth down territory, right? Because if the Chiefs have the ball first and they face that 4th and 1 from their own 33, whatever, I think they probably still go for it, but they might punt, right? If you find yourself in that 4th and medium, you're punting if you get the ball first. Now you go second, you're like, no, dude, we're in 4 down territory. We're going down the field until we are in field goal range, at least, if not going for the touchdown. So that was another huge advantage of it. This is Mahomes' stat line in the last drive. Here it is. 8 for 8, 42 yards passing, 27 yards rushing.
He's a dual threat quarterback.
Also, this clip is amazing. Chris Jones is sitting on the sideline after the defense holds him to a field goal in overtime, and he says, "We need that Pat Vick to show up." Pat Vick, which is a tribute to the great Michael Vick and his legs, who before the Super Bowl had been at one of the Chiefs practices and talking to the guys. And Mahomes had talked about how much he enjoys when Vick is around. Vick played for Andy Reid in Philadelphia. But yeah, even Jones, the Chiefs knew like Mahomes is going to do what he's got to do. He's going to do it with his legs. He's going to do it with his arm. And he was, I mean, those are the moments that make athletes great. And he showed up, and he was quite literally perfect in the biggest moment.
He is like, I mean, it's the same. It's honestly the same as Michael Jordan. Like when he gets to that point when the game is on the line, it's like his ability just gets kicked into another drive that's higher than anyone else that exists. Of like, he just can't be stopped. He's going to do whatever it takes to win, and he's going to make absurd plays. Or he's also just going to like they're not always absurd. It's just little things that he does. I'm trying to remember. This is earlier on in the game, but I think it was in the third quarter. He's rearing back to launch it deep, and right at the last second, he decides to check down to I believe Jerick McKinnon. It was on a third down, checks it down to Jerick McKinnon, and ends up picking up the first down instead of launching it deep. Like it's those types of decisions also where he's like, oh, I don't have to be the hero, but what makes me great is my ability to make things happen.
Yeah. Yeah, he's so good. Also, shout out to the CBS camera crew because on that final overtime drive, they did an amazing job of capturing the emotion on the 49ers sideline. And let me tell you, dude, those dudes just knew they were cooked as soon as Mahomes got the ball. They couldn't even watch. The number of 49ers players they showed, they're just like head in hands, towel on their head, just sitting there expressionless as they knew that Mahomes was just about to engineer a drive to rip their hearts out. Was beautiful.
It was awesome.
You gotta love it, man. You gotta love it. Let's move on to a little dynasty talk before we talk a little bit about the off season, which is just here rapidly.
I've one last thing to say when we talk about the top performers and recapping the game. Travis Kelce. I mean, he might only have 1 or 2 good years left, but like his stat line from the first half to the second half, 1 reception for 1 yard, finishes with 9 receptions for 93 yards. Like, stop talking about him as just the greatest tight end of all time, but like start talking about him as one of the greatest pass catchers of all time, and for sure one of the greatest postseason players of all time. Like to pass Jerry Rice in anything means you got to be pretty damn good at football.
Yeah, he can ball. Yeah, and he's not going anywhere, man. He's not retiring. No. He's not retiring.
No, unless Andy Reid kicks him off the team for that big shove during the game.
That was hilarious. And yeah, reactions funny. Here's what people don't consider when they see something like that. And Kelce even said it, like he shouldn't have done it. He got hyped, right? And Reid blew it off. They've got a 13-year relationship, and they're both adults. Like this is not a high schooler doing that to their high school coach or a college kid doing it to their college coach. These are two grown men that have been working together for 13 years, that have the ultimate trust and respect for one another, and a moment where they both get heated. And Reed's response, like, "Yeah, cheap shot. He caught me off guard. I was a little off balance." Was just amazing.
And then Kelsey comes in and says, "I was just coming in to tell him how much I love him."
Yeah, yeah, they're
So
both so good in
good.
the media.
All the people reacting are the Swifties that are just like, "Ugh, Travis Kelsey should never be doing that. Not Taylor's man." Anyways, that's a
Well,
conversation
yeah.
for another time.
Let's talk about it. Hey, Chiefs, 3 Super Bowls, 5 years. I think it's safe to say they're a dynasty. Your thoughts, Josh?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like there's very few other teams in the history of the NFL who have done this. And
Only 5.
especially with the fact of them being able to go back to back in the years where they trade away Tyreek Hill. People are like, oh, the Chiefs aren't going to do it this year. They go and win a Super Bowl. The next year, they have uh, basically a fifth grade Pee Wee team at receiving core plus Travis Kelsey and the youngest defense in the NFL. Oh, the Chiefs can't do it this year. Statistically, Patrick Mahomes' worst year as a starter, yet they still go and do it. Like that is the definition of a dynasty, and the definition of a great team is their ability to overcome adversity. And the Chiefs have just consistently shown that they can overcome adversity. So yeah, they're absolutely a dynasty. There's no question in my mind.
Yeah. So, and to talk a little bit more about the 5-year dynastic runs in the NFL. Shout out Seth Kaiser for some of these things from his article that he wrote after the Super Bowl. So the Chiefs are now only the 4th franchise, but they are the 6th team in a 5-year span to win 3 Super Bowls in 5 years. The 74-78 Steelers, the 75-80 Steelers, and the 92-96 Cowboys, 01-05 Patriots, and 14-18 Patriots. All won 3 and 5 years. But here's the thing that makes the Chiefs unique and their dynastic run here in the last 5 years. The only other team to lose an AFC Championship game and lose a Super Bowl in those 2 years that they didn't win it was the 14-18 Patriots. All those other 5-year runs, those teams either lost before the championship game or some of them didn't even make the playoffs in one of those 5 years. Okay. So the Chiefs and the Patriots from 14-18 are the only teams to go 3 and 5 years. And in the 2 years they didn't win it, AFC Championship loss, Super Bowl loss. The thing that separates them from that Patriots team, though, from 14-18, is that Patriots teams, that 5-year run, they didn't win it back to back. The Chiefs did. So the Chiefs did the same thing, and they did something harder in winning back to back, which none of those other teams did in that 5-year span, along with losing in those 2 ways in the years they didn't win it.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
Wow.
Absolutely incredible.
It's amazing. All right,
Yeah,
we've talked about the last 5 years. Where do you see the future? Like, what's the ceiling for this Chiefs dynasty? Realistically, what do you think the ceiling is?
Let's talk about the next 5 years. 5 more years. I think Andy Reid is the coach for at least another 5 years. A lot of people are like, oh, only a couple more. I think he's doing it for at least another 5 years, maybe longer. Yeah, that dude's not going anywhere as long as he's able to coach.
And he hasn't shown any signs of slowing down, like barring something happening to him.
He's amazing. In the next 5 years, I think the Chiefs can win another 2 Super Bowls, which would give you 5 in a 10-year run. I mean, that's unbelievable. But I think 2 is totally doable for them in the next 5 years with the way that Mahomes is playing and the way that the front office is managing this roster. I mean, if they continue to hit in the draft and make wise financial decisions, there's no reason they can't keep doing this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's going to be the biggest thing is how can the front office keep up with the need, because when you got a quarterback like Pat Mahomes, like you can restructure your contract all you want, but it still costs a whole lot of money, and we got to find ways to get good players for cheap, and then keep on bringing in, like, I think what the front office did this offseason in bringing in players like Drew Tranquill and Mike Edwards, like, on just 1 year prove it deals so valuable and gets very underrated. Like Drew Tranquil was an integral part of this defense, especially with Nick Bolton's injury, that just doesn't get talked about enough. And so, like, this dynasty is yes, Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid, but it is also so much on the front offense for the moves and things that they have done.
Yeah, it's special, man. With Mahomes and Reid, like, why would you bet against them? Like, yeah, it's just they're so good. And obviously, anything could happen. Like guys get hurt, right? Brady got hurt 1 year, missed a whole year. And those things happen. You hope that never happens to Mahomes. So you don't know for sure, but another 5-year stretch with these guys, it's like, wow, there's just no reason to bet against them not getting back to the same spot. Even though it's so hard to do, they just keep proving that they can do it. Well,
what a
with
perfect
that,
transition into with these guys. Who's going to be around next year, Luke?
Who's going to be around? 2 things we need to talk about: franchise tag, free agency. Let's get into it. The franchise tag. Here's when it happens. Today, actually, is the first day that teams can use the franchise tag on one of their players. The window is February 20th through March 5th. So that starts today. So there may be some news coming out soon from teams about the players that they're going to franchise tag. And I thought it was worth just reading a quick explanation from NFL.com about what the franchise tag is and how exactly it works, because I think there's a lot of people that might not be very familiar with it and how exactly it works. So the most common, there's a few different types of franchise tags that teams can use. The most common is the non-exclusive franchise tag. That's the one we'll talk about right here. Which I believe is what would apply to essentially whoever the Chiefs would franchise tag. And the non-exclusive franchise tag is the most commonly used tag. When people refer to the franchise tag, they're generally talking about the non-exclusive version. It's a 1-year tender of the average of the top 5 salaries at the player's position over the last 5 years, or 120% of his previous salary, whichever is greater. The tagged player can negotiate with other teams, but his current club owns the right to match any offer or receive 2 first-round draft picks as compensation if he signs with another club. So the reason that and that was from NFL.com, the reason that a lot of, that it's uncommon for a guy to get signed away when he is franchised is because it would require 2 first-round draft picks as compensation. And very few franchises are willing to part with 2 first-round draft picks for a guy they're going to have to pay millions and millions of dollars to as well. And so that's what the franchise tag is and how it works. Essentially, you got the average from the last 5 years, top 5 salaries of that position, or 120% of their previous salary, whichever is greater. And with that, there's 2 primary franchise tag candidates for the Chiefs right now: Chris Jones and L'Jarius Sneed. Josh, do you have thoughts on whether you think either of these will be franchised? Do you think the Chiefs should franchise either of them, or anything else on this topic?
I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of fears. I think the most realistic option is, well, maybe not the most realistic, but what can be feasible is franchise tagging Sneed and signing Jones to an extension. Chris Jones has made it very clear that he wants to be here and he wants to finish out his career here, especially his comments at the parade said he's not going anywhere.
His agent literally tweeting out, "Cut him off." Oh my gosh.
Okay,
When
well,
he made those comments, I
agent,
looked at my friend and was like, "Oh man, Brett Beach and his agent right now are just rolling over."
his agent is just an idiot. Like, we don't need to get into that. Last offseason just totally screwed him over. Like, Chris Jones needs to fire his agent. Absolutely. But I think the reality of both of them being on the team next year, I think, is probably pretty low. I think Sneed's going to go out and get a payday. But what I would love is franchise tag Sneed, which is not crazy expensive, sign Jones to an extension. And the Chiefs they're actually in a pretty comfortable place with the salary cap, especially if they restructure Mahomes' contracts and make a couple of cuts, which they probably will.
Yeah, the tag for Chris Jones is around 32 million. I think it's unlikely that the Chiefs tag him. I mean, I think it's most likely that they either get a deal done with him, probably a 2 max 3-year deal. I believe Jones is about to turn 30. The Chiefs
Yeah, I mean
really don't.
next
They don't
season
mess with
he's
big
going to be on the wrong
contracts.
side of 30.
Yeah, yeah, and the Chiefs have been good about avoiding, big contracts with guys around that age, which is wise. And then Sneed's tag would be about 18.4 million. Yeah, maybe they do, and they can find a way to keep both. But man, I would be so surprised if they tag Sneed, because even if they tag him, they're it would it's unlikely that they sign him to a long-term contract. The Chiefs have just made a habit of not giving defensive backs contracts. Charvarius Ward, case in point, right, with the 49ers, he goes over there and gets a big payday, and Sneed deserves a big payday. He should get one. And just to put in perspective, L'Jarius Sneed has made less than $5 million in the entirety of his time in the NFL because he was, I believe, a fifth-round draft pick. Like,
That is insane.
he's made almost nothing. And so the dude's got a chance to go get a huge contract and hope that he does. I just don't think it'll
Yeah.
be in Kansas City. The Chiefs are really good at drafting and developing defensive backs. And I think Dave Merritt, their coach, is a big part of that. And I think, they're going to say, thank you, L'Jarius, and, we wish you all the best. And and I think too, I'm not crazy about giving Jones. Honestly, 2 years would be my preference. He's definitely going to want 3. But I think the thing with Jones is more of an anomaly at his position than Sneed is at his. Sneed's really good, one of the best in the league. But there are more corners that you can plug and play that can do a great job than there are guys like Chris Jones that can do a great job. Like, Chris Jones is one of only a few dominant interior linemen, and I think that's much harder to replace than a defensive back.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with you. But I'm looking at a tweet right now from Connor Christopherson, who I don't know who you are, but thanks, Connor, talking about how likely it is for Ed Jones and Sneed re-signing. If they were to franchise tag Sneed, and Chris Jones signed a 4-year, $118 million contract, which is apparently what they're projecting. I don't think the Chiefs would give that out to him, but if they did, all it would take is cutting MVS and a slight restructure to Patrick Mahomes' contract, which they're already planning on doing. Cutting MVS, I think, gives us $12 million in cap space at least, and only $2 million in dead money. So I think you can almost guarantee that MVS is going to be cut, or at least significantly restructured, and coming back on a
if he wants
deal.
to come back, he's gonna have to take a huge pay cut.
Yeah.
Well, and that gets into kind of the next topic, free agency. So if you're not familiar with the NFL calendar, on March 11th, legal tampering begins. What a funny way to put it. Essentially, teams can start talking to guys that are about to be free agents. And then on March 13th, it's the new NFL calendar, and free agency opens until April 19th is when unrestricted free agents can sign. And free agency, highest bidder gets the guy, and there could be some compensatory picks that teams get if guys sign elsewhere, et cetera. It depends on where they are in their contract and how long they've been in the league, et cetera. But the Chiefs have a big list of free agents this offseason. We already just talked about 2 of them, but I'm just going to go ahead and read off the players that their contracts are expiring, and then we're going to talk about each of them and whether we think we should re-sign them or let them walk. So Chris Jones, L'Jarius Sneed, those are the first 2. We just talked about those. Donovan Smith, Willie Gay, Derek Nottie, defensive tackle, running back Jerick McKinnon, running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire, safety Mike Edwards, wide receiver McCole Hardman, punter Tommy Townsend, D end Mike Dana, guard Nick Allegretti, and linebacker Drew Tranquil. Big list. And some really key guys on that list. Let's start. We already talked about Jones and Sneed. Let's start with Donovan Smith, the Chiefs' left tackle this year, who was only making about $3 million. Chiefs gave him a 1-year deal. Josh, re-sign or let him walk?
If we can get him on another 1-year deal, maybe. But I think an offseason with Wanya Morris to be able to potentially develop to that left tackle position / maybe look at someone in the draft. I'm not going to give him any sort of crazy contract extension, but maybe if he wants another prove it deal and another cheap, a little bit more than vet minimum, I would take him.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat there. Like, he was cheap. If he wants to come back and be cheap again, and he can compete with Wanya Morris, or maybe the Chiefs draft a left tackle, they really need to draft a tackle in this draft. Let him compete for it. But he's not someone that I would give much of anything, because you can find someone serviceable to do as good or better than he did this year, I think.
Wanya Morris was somewhat serviceable for the most part. Like, I think
Yeah,
you give
he
him
was
an off
decent.
season to develop. He has a chance to at least be as decent as Donovan Smith was, because Donovan Smith wasn't great.
Yeah. Next one, Willie Gay. Sign or walk?
This is probably not going to be a popular opinion, but I want to sign him. I'm a bit gay for Willie Gay. I love him. And I think that he's just so fun to watch. Like, he's so athletic in coverage, and he's made some incredible plays as a Chief. So I would love to find a way to re-sign him. Realistically, I don't think we do. I think we let him walk, and I think we try and sign Drew Tranquil instead.
Yeah, Gay's going to get a decent contract. I think you let him walk as well. You just can't sign everybody because of how much Mahomes costs, and that's a good problem to have. Gay also tweeted out, I think, during the playoff run that essentially, I think he said it was like my last game at Arrowhead, something along those lines after the Dolphins game. I think he knows that the Chiefs aren't going to be extending him, re-signing him, and so that's one where he has been good, but I don't see the Chiefs re-signing him, just with the other players that are more important than him that they need to allocate money to. So with that, next one, DT Derek Nottie.
Why not? Let's bring him back. If we got a Minihue out with an ACL for most of the season, we don't know what Chris Jones is where Chris Jones is going to be. Like, obviously, I think the hard part is, I don't know if you can wait to give Derek Nottie a contract, but he's been pretty good up the middle and pretty serviceable as a run blocker. So I'd bring him back. I mean, he's not going to command a crazy contract anywhere else.
Yeah, if he's cheap and to bring back some depth there, he's not going to hurt. Yeah, he has made some big plays for us. The running backs, McKinnon and CEH. Let's do them both. What do you think, Josh? McKinnon and Clyde?
Get rid of both. I love McKinnon. He's 31, going to be 32 next year, and is just less and less durable. And Clyde, I love Clyde too, but he's just, I mean, if you can bring him back for cheap, great. But I would rather see someone that we can bring in be a little bit more durable as a pass catching back to take more of the load off of Pacheco, because right now it's like, if you need yards, you have to rely on Pacheco. We don't have any other running back who can go in there and get yards. Like, McKinnon's a great blocker, but he was out for most of the season, and he continues to not be very durable as he gets older. And Clyde is just, he has flashes of brilliance, but for the most part, he's just not it. Like, I think you can find a better free agent running back, someone serviceable that's going to do a better job than Clyde is.
Yeah, I would anticipate one of the two being back in some role, but probably not both. And then I would think the Chiefs will probably take a late round flyer on a running back and or some undrafted free agents to bring in. So yeah, I don't see both of them being back, but it wouldn't surprise me if one of them are back, and I'd be fine with that. They both do well in the role that they have carved out for them right now. So
yeah, and I will say Clyde has gotten a lot better. It is like being a third down back and pass blocking. Early in his career, he was terrible, but he really picked up that slack when McKinnon was out.
Yeah, he did a good job. Safety, Mike Edwards.
No, I think you can let him walk. I think with the emergence of Jamari Connor and Brian Cook coming back with them two and Justin Reed, like, Mike Edwards was good, and he filled some holes, especially with Brian Cook getting injured. But with the way that the Chiefs are able to draft defensive backs, I think we can let him walk, and I won't be upset about it. What do you think?
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you got to let some of these guys walk. McCole Hardman, wide receiver. Game winner, baby. Bring him back just because he caught that.
Did you see he played in the NBA All-Star game, and I think was his jersey said Mr. Clutch or something.
Wow, I did not see that.
He got invited after that. I'll see if I can pull it up on Twitter. He's not going to get a big contract anywhere else. He's basically just proven that he can only be successful with the Chiefs. So if he's willing to come back, I mean, he's serviceable. He caught a couple of good dog-field balls. I think you get him in the locker room for the entire offseason. He's not going to be bad. And if we're cutting MVS, I like having a fast outside threat on the team. So I'd keep him.
Yeah, if he wants to come play for really cheap, great. Like you said, I don't think other teams really going to have a need for him. Andy knows how to use him, at least in some capacity. So if he wants to come back for cheap, Yeah, fill in that wide receiver room that I think obviously he's going to get some help this offseason, hopefully. But if not, if he wants to get paid, he can walk. Tommy Townsend, punter. Bring this dude back. Dude's a good punter.
Pay the damn man. Pay that man.
The Chiefs' special teams have been
Not too
good.
much.
His hair, honestly, the main reason we need him back is just his luscious locks.
Yeah, he should be sponsored by Head and Shoulders, not Pat Mahomes.
It might be true. Mike Dana, DN, thoughts?
This is an interesting one. I love Mike Dana, and I don't think he gets enough respect. I think he had a great season, especially early on when Chris Jones was out and before Minihue came on. I think, again, with a Minihue out, and I just have so many questions about FAU, Felix Inadike Uzama, or whatever his name. Like, what is he going to do? Like, is he actually going to be any sort of a serviceable player? Mike Dana has proven that he can make some big plays. So if we can find a way to bring him back, I think so. But pass rush depth is a need for every single team. So I don't know if we're going to be able to afford to bring him back.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind if he walked. Like you said, he played well and filled in at times, but he's not really part of the future. So if you need some depth, maybe he's back on a cheap deal. But I'd look for them again to add more on the defensive line in this draft as well. Guard Nick Allegretti, big tough dude in the Super Bowl, tears his UCL in the first or second quarter and then plays the rest of the game with a torn UCL, which is a ligament in your elbow. Pretty essential for an offensive lineman, and this dude doesn't leave the game.
It was either Nick Allegretti or I think it was Nick Allegretti. Like, he has some sort of medical background, like knew that he had really injured his arm, but told one of his other teammates, like, I don't need my elbow to play offensive line. Just like an absolute dog. Yeah, I mean, you always need depth at offensive line. If he can come back for cheap, I think he stepped up and played great when Joe Tootie was injured. He's never going to be a starter. I don't know if another team is going to try and reach for him, but
I think he might actually get a contract from another team. That'll be interesting to see based on how he played in the playoffs. If another team, will pay him more than the Chiefs can afford to, I could see him getting signed away. But yeah, if you can keep him for cheap and add O-line depth, I mean, he was big when it mattered. So dudes are going to get injured. You got to have some guys like Allegretti.
Yeah.
Drew Tranquil, last but not least.
I love Drew. We got to find a way to keep him.
It's so much better here than California. That's just what he kept repeating on the parade. Amazing.
So much better. Yeah, we got to find a way to keep him. And I think he loves it here. He wants to be here, and he seems like the kind of guy that's going to be willing to not just go out and seek a mega deal, but we're going to be able to get him for a decent price in order to get him in there next to Nick Bolton, and with Leo Chenal in there as well. I like our linebacking core.
Yeah, I agree. Bring this dude back as long as it's affordable. People love him and are really high on him, but if he wants a big payday, I would not give that to him. I have a feeling that he's going to be willing to play for less. And I think that's one of the things with a lot of these guys and a lot of free agents. Like, hey, you come to Kansas City, we can't pay you as much, but you're going to get a chance to win. And that's pretty attractive for some of these dudes. Now, obviously, this is their chance to make the most money they're ever going to make in their life. So I would not begrudge anybody for taking a contract that's life-changing money. But also, some of these guys, they really want to win.
Yeah. Especially now that you're entering that dynasty status of like guys that are in the, maybe not the twilight years of their career, but nearing the end, and they care more about legacy. Like, they want to win Super Bowls, and Kansas City's the best place to come win a Super Bowl right now.
Come get that ring. That's right. See red and think Super Bowls, as Big Red said to Drew Tranquil last off season. You got to love it. What a text, man. That dude's a recruiter. See red and think Super Bowls. Well, that does it for us on the KC Football Fix podcast. Like Big Red said, see red and think Super Bowls. We appreciate you taking the time to listen. If you enjoy the show, make sure you hit subscribe, leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts, and make sure you go to kcfootballfix.com to subscribe to the newsletter. Get all of your Chiefs news for free in one place. We'll be sending out at least once a week in the off season and every weekday morning during the season. Thanks for listening, and go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs.